1 week in the book for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Week 2 is underway inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. That's the 40-year vet Tim May, Andy Backstrom. I am Spencer Holbrook. Fellas, we just heard from the head man himself, Ryan Day, from the head defensive man himself, Jim Knowles. And my big takeaway, I'm going to start this off because I think this is very important for the people to know. Ryan Day says everything on offense that he saw from film is correctable. The offensive line, correctable mistakes. Quarterback, correctable mistakes. Maybe even some play calling stuff, correctable mistakes. Being aggressive, correctable mistake. I think that Ohio State is a pretty confident program and team right now, even after a little bit of a sluggish start in week 1. Tim, what's your big takeaway there?
I agree with him. I mean, I saw 4 or 5, we talked about it after the game, I saw at least 3 touchdowns. You can say that about any team. I saw at least 3 touchdowns and maybe more than that were left on the table for this team from Saturday, where a change here, a waggle there, a read here. Waggle. You heard me ask him about, you've never heard of waggle action, evidently.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, what I'm talking about here is, I asked him, that's why I asked him specifically how much leash really Kyle McCord had to look elsewhere, to read the defense truly, et cetera, because there were at least 2 possible touchdowns there that went by the board that would have involved Marvin Harrison Jr. And of course the third, where Marvin Harrison Jr. got sort of shoved and stepped out of bounds and they really went out on his own. That was a touchdown taken off the board. Anyway, right on down the line there, all kinds of things correctable, including there was an overplay where they had to, you just had to get this crackback block on the diving backside defensive end, that Andre Carter kid, and I think it was Cade Stover might have been the tight end in there at the time, who missed. And then the play was stopped for no gain or -1. There are all these things that can be fixed and or were errors that you can point out and go, you got to get this guy next time. Other than that, Cade Stover, in my opinion, had a hell of a game. And he may not have been the guy that missed, because I think Egbuka was in motion on the same play, and it was kind of an interesting action they had going there. But he is exactly right. This team was so much closer to giving you that 40 and or 50-point game than it was to giving you 5 points.
As we speak, Marvin Harrison Jr. behind us now, going to the Monarch machine. Big shocker there, along with Julian Fleming. Just a couple of Buckeyes here working out. Andy, big takeaways after hearing from Ryan Day and Jim Knowles.
Offensive line, Josh Fryer was the only one that graded as a champion. Not too surprising, because that line definitely had some struggles. Growing pains they're working through. He said that Carson Hinsman was not bad. He was kind of encouraged by his first start. Said he called a decent game up there in the anchor of that offensive line spot. And then Josh Simmons saw some of the athleticism, but still not consistent enough for what they want there at left tackle. So no signs of changes up front, but certainly work to be done on that line, and really just work to be done overall for that offense. As Spencer said, everything's correctable, but in order to get to that aggressive play calling, he says he needs to trust more. That starts with the quarterback situation. If you hit on some of those bigger plays, like they tried to take some shots downfield, he said he's more likely to call more of those. He also mentioned on the short yardage situations, the 3rd and 4th downs, they didn't really convert on. He was asked, why wouldn't you go with your 4th down play, which was typically the passing situation? He said, well, you got to establish the run, and we can't just rely on the pass as much. So we heard that last season, right? Really, really wanting to emphasize establishing the run. That seems to be, again, an emphasis right now. That's something that caught my attention.
Yeah, that's why I asked him after the game. I asked him that very thing. There was one situation where they went for it and got stoned. And, there are times in a season where you want to go out there and show you can do this even though they know what's coming. And that was a disappointment for him in that regard, of just knocking somebody off the ball, no matter how many guys they throw up there. Getting your 1.5 yards, no matter what it is. And that was probably the most disappointing thing for this offensive line and this offensive running game aspect of things on Saturday.
Yeah, I still think there's an option there that people need to consider a little more. Maybe Ryan Day does too, where you just hit the Marv button. And, that play works pretty often, guys.
Yeah, but
I know, I'm just messing. You
got a first-time starting quarterback. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You got a first-time starting quarterback. They're going to try to take Marvin Harrison Jr. away more often than not. And I'm with you. See, I think the same way you do. I think a well-thrown pass to a great wide receiver, that can still be a completion no matter what's going on in and around that wide receiver. But they missed a couple on Saturday when he had ample opportunities from a coverage standpoint or just breaking wide open plays, and the ball still didn't go to him, which bugs you a little bit, at least bugged me a little bit.
I was being facetious on the whole Marv play thing.
No,
It's
I agree with that.
much more difficult done than said. But like you said, you've got to be able to establish the run. I did ask Ryan Day though about Cade Stover being what he was on Saturday, where obviously Cade Stover was open because of the attention paid to the other receivers, but that can also start to work the other way. The pendulum can swing the other way, where you can't do as much against Marvin and Emeka if Cade Stover is going to be that effective in the passing game. And Ryan Day said, we didn't see, and I even threw in there, like, do you think Kyle has a little more chemistry with Cade just because of how big he is and things like? He said, no, I don't see that. It was certainly the case on Saturday. I don't see that overall. He said, but there's something to be said for what Cade can do with the ball in his hands. He's worked on his route running. He's gotten a lot better. I know that he missed that one block, but he was one of the most impressive.
Oh,
I think that was Cade Stover's. It might have been his best game, overall body of work. And Ryan Day seemed to be equally impressed. As Lettermen Row was. This offense has all the pieces. I mean, we're not telling anybody through this camera what they don't know. And I think that's why everybody's so a little uptight about this, is because the potential is here, and I think Ohio State only got here. But again, all of it is correctable, Andy.
Chip Trainum, another one of those pieces we talked about today. He's not a fullback, even though he played that fullback role a lot of Saturday. He's a big running back who can catch the ball, can run the ball. He was quite effective, especially after contact against Indiana. But yeah, I do want to hit on the quarterback thing because it was talked about. I know everyone's still wanting to talk about it. It's not definitively over as a competition, even though we feel like it is. He said that Devin Brown will still play against Youngstown State. He wasn't ready to close the book on this chapter. He said that both quarterbacks will play, both quarterbacks will be evaluated. Now how much, he wouldn't get into that. We don't know exactly. But it's the same situation where Kyle McCord will start, and we are supposed to see more of Devin Brown.
Yeah, and the thing about
We'll
it,
see.
I asked him about that. I mean, I asked him, Devin Brown has practiced and whatever enough to where he deserves more of a shot. It doesn't mean he's number one. Doesn't mean he is necessarily going to go by Kyle McCord. You had to name a starter for the opening game. We talked about that ad nauseum last week. I don't know where people are all stunned that you're playing your opener on the road against a Big Ten opponent at a place where you've always had trouble. I mean, the last couple of decades, Ohio State's had trouble at Indiana, no matter what kind of team Indiana had. The bottom line is you're going to get that win the surest way. These next 2 weeks are chances to play your other quarterback. That doesn't mean there's going to be a change in the pecking order, but clearly these are the chances you get against Youngstown State and in Western Kentucky to play both quarterbacks and maybe see a guy really explode in the sense of Devin Brown, or see a guy really take control of the starting job in Kyle McCord. I think it's an interesting conundrum for a head coach.
A lot of storylines on this offense. Meanwhile, the Ohio State defense played really, really, really well. No matter how hard Indiana tried to not even play offense, really, in my opinion, on the rewatch, it's like, were you trying to put the ball in the end zone? Were you trying to score points? I have questions. I really do.
Well, I like the way Mike Hall got in on 27 snaps. I mean, that stood out to me.
Any way you cut it, the Ohio State defense played really well, from top to bottom. Whether that was Josh Proctor on the back end, running lanes and getting in on that triple option, Sonny Styles as well, or if it was Tyleik Williams and Hero Kanu and Jaden McKenzie getting in at the defensive line and mixing it up, or if it's Denzel Burke getting his hands on the football, Davis and Igbinosun almost getting ejected. Like, they played hard, they played fast, they played physical, and I think that's everything Jim Knowles wanted. Now they've got a chance against Youngstown State, and I'm not going to shrift Youngstown State's offense, but they've got a chance to go into week 3 allowing 3 to 7 to maybe less than 3 points a game, which is pretty awesome if you're Ohio State and you're sitting there after a couple years of rocky defense.
Youngstown State scored 52 points last week, man, against Valparaiso.
Sure. But, Andy, this defense has a chance to really show that it's real, even against an Indiana team that didn't want to score the football in Youngstown State, which is an FCS opponent.
Well, I think Indiana obviously wanted to score, and it was interesting because they brought out something that Ohio State didn't expect to see, which was the triple option. And Jim Knowles was asked, how often did you practice for the triple option? He said 5 practices?
5 plays.
5 plays.
Maybe 5 times.
5 plays.
Because you try to show them everything. You try to show every possibility as you're getting ready for a game, especially an opener. Yeah. I heard 5.
No, it's 5 plays. You're right.
I heard 5 reps.
5 plays. And he said maybe that's a stretch.
And Denzel Burke didn't even remember those, I guess. Yeah.
And so that's really showing the read and react, which Tim wrote about on lettermenrow.com.
Yeah.
Of this ability of the defense to understand the system so well in year 2 to be able to adapt on the fly, because you're not focusing how to run the defense, you're just doing it.
But as we talked about on Saturday after the game, I don't know if we actually put it on video or not, but Indiana's down 3 touchdowns, and they're still pretty much running their offense.
Yeah.
And so that's not, Indiana helped Ohio State. Let's put it that way, because it was clear Ohio State had a grip on that triple option. Indiana threw the ball downfield, 3 times maybe 4 times. One of them hit, but it was an explosive play, but it wasn't whatever I called those plays that went all the way for touchdowns. I had a good nickname for that at the end of the year last year. You didn't give up that play in this game. As Lathan Ransom said when we were talking to him this time a week ago, how are you going to know whether you stopped the big plays? He goes, basically, I'm paraphrasing, he says, if they don't get any, and they didn't get one for a touchdown, which was huge, but they didn't really try very many times to do that either, So that's the other thing. But it was this offense kind of played right into Ohio State's aggressive hands, and I saw people complaining on Twitter about lack of sacks.
First mistake, Tim.
Are you watching the game? They're running the frickin' option. You don't attack an option like you do a guy dropping back and throwing every other down. You've got a slow play and then get after the guy. They still had the quarterback. They tackled the quarterback several times for losses in that game. You know what I mean? But you got to understand when you're complaining, you got to understand what you're complaining about, and some people don't. Well, they just see stats.
Your first mistake, Tim, was learning how to read. Your second mistake was using that skill to read Twitter.
Well, true that.
Youngstown,
people can say that when they read my Twitter, I'm sure, too.
Youngstown State comes to Columbus, face the Buckeyes on Saturday. If you'd like to attend that game, I have the place for you. The Game Time app and gametime.co is the place to go. If you have a ticket from the Game Time app, you pay, let's say $100 for that ticket, or $110 for that ticket. Then you find a ticket for $100 on a different website in the same section. Then you can show that to Game Time, and Game Time will give you $11 back because it's 110% of the difference. I think I got that math correct. I'm a journalist.
Pretty good. I'm glad you did that for me.
I'm a journalist, not a mathematician. Arithmetic, not my strong suit. Sorry to all my teachers in elementary school, but the Game Time app does it for you because you just send in that and they will get you that 110% of the difference. The Game Time app, you can find tickets for Ohio State. You can find concert tickets. I know Tim used it a couple weeks ago to see the Little Baby at Nationwide Arena. Maybe Andy was there too.
Brought my own diapers.
There you go. Oh. I think we're going to have a chat about who Little Baby is after this, Tim. But
I know, because I have no idea and I didn't go. But I will say this, you can get in Saturday on Game Time. As of yesterday, when I was doing this very similar thing, you get in for $36 on Saturday and see one of the elite programs in the country play football. Don't be griping at the end of the year that you didn't get a chance to go see Ohio State play football.
Yeah, $36 is a pretty good deal. And you can get $20 off your first purchase at the Game Time app if you use the promo code Buckeyes. That means if you buy one ticket, you'll get it for $16. If you buy 2 tickets, you'll get them each for $26. That's pretty good. $26 to see the Buckeyes. $26 to see the Bucks. Go to gametime.co or the Game Time app. Take care of all of your ticketing needs as we preview Ohio State, Youngstown State. You'll be the smartest person in the building because you'll have listened to the Lettermen Row practice report, and you'll get in for a little bit cheaper than you may be expected to.
And don't forget the terms apply to any kind of deal, right? I mean, make sure you understand that. But yes, I mean, $36 to see Ohio State play. That's throwbacks to yesteryear.
On that very topic, as Ohio State gets ready to host Youngstown State on Saturday in the home opener, Andy, just Jim Knowles overall defensively, he said he has a cold heart. There's no warmth in his heart, but he had to have a little bit of warmth in his heart. Maybe he's like the Grinch.
You had to like that question I asked him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did it warm your heart?
Maybe his heart grows a little bit, and becomes a little warmer when he sees.
That was Alex Grinch. grew a little bit.
When he sees the defense, stand up against this option and play pretty well, and you've officially got some momentum heading into the 2 tune-up matchups before Notre Dame.
A lot to like and a lot to learn. We learned a lot today, I felt like, about some of those positions. Josh Proctor is continuing to start, at least for now, at that free safety spot. They liked his consistency, which has been an issue for him throughout his career here, but seems to have it, at least so far in his 6th year. We are interested to see what it would look like against more of a passing offense. That was his strong suit, defending the run, so it kind of helped him in that opener to really show off what he can do.
Yeah.
But for now, he's the starter at free safety. Malik Hartford was close in that competition, not Jahad Carter. He was in that competition, but seemingly not as close. Jahad Carter is expected to play this week with a good week of practice against Youngstown State as well. He can slide down to that bandit spot and rotate in with Lathan Ransom. So we learned some about the safeties. Linebacker rotation, though, was tricky because we really didn't see much of Cody Simon. We didn't see much of C.J. Hicks. And Jim Knowles said that was partly because they were defending against the option, which takes a while for linebackers to kind of understand how to defend, especially when you haven't practiced for it. So that was part of the reason why we didn't see those two as much. But going forward for offense and defense, both coaches said that this change with the clock rule is making it difficult to get the guys in. Ohio State has so much talent. To rotate guys in is harder now with fewer possessions.
It's funny because watching Josh Proctor play on Saturday, I was just thinking, you finally get to be a contestant on Jeopardy, and one of the categories is right down your alley. And that's what, when Indiana came out and started running that option, I'm going, wait a minute, is this just a first play to kind of throw everybody off, and then you're going to go into, no, they stuck with it. And that was right down the aggressive alley where Josh Proctor lives. And the big test is going to come. It may come a little bit this week, but it's definitely going to come in 2 weeks when Western Kentucky does anything but run the option. They throw the hell out of the football. The discipline in the pass defense is going to be paramount in that game. So it's really funny. You're going to get judgments as this goes along about this whole defense, but Josh Proctor is definitely one you got to keep your eye on.
Are you more of a business ethics guy or a flaming poo in the human reaction, Tim, on Jeopardy?
I don't.
That's a Billy Madison reference.
I got you.
That.
Yeah, I'm more business ethics.
Okay, well, Tim's gonna stick to business ethics and Buckeye football. I think that sounds like a good idea. We will have full coverage of the Ohio State Buckeyes at LettermenRow.com. Moving forward, as Ohio State gears up for Youngstown State, Tim is just so ready to get to this Western Kentucky game. I think we're going to have to rein him in a little bit. I'm just telling you,
Austin Reed's coming to town, and he's going to be throwing the ball, getting off the bus. He may throw it out the window to somebody. The test on whether this defense has got its act together against the pass is coming.
It is coming, but
Tim, back-to-back games against Western Kentucky and Sam Hartman and Notre Dame.
I can't help but feel like you are decorating for Christmas before Thanksgiving because Youngstown State is like Thanksgiving. It's a nice homecoming.
I got Jim Tressel on my podcast this week, the Tim May Show, and he talked about that. He was pretty honest about how do you as a coach handle games like this, meaning Youngstown State where you're a prohibitive favorite, should be.
Not even. No line.
Well, yeah, that's interesting too. But how you're a favorite, but then you go into this game, you got to feel confident about yourself, but you also go into this game with things you definitely want to work on. You're not treating it as a scrimmage, but almost, meaning there are things you want to get for the offensive line. There are things Ohio State wants to get straightened out in this game because Youngstown State's going to line up and try to shoot gaps. They're going to try to do things that Indiana had a hit or miss success on Saturday. When they hit pretty big time. And so this is the kind of game where you can get a lot of things straightened out in terms of guys playing against live competition that has game planned you. And it doesn't mean you're in jeopardy of losing, but you want to work on some stuff.
Andy Backstrom, 40-year vet Tim May, Spencer Holbrook. Wednesday night, we'll be back in this very building to hear from those Buckeyes as they gear up for Youngstown State. Thursday, Ryan Day with the lightning round, and then Saturday at noon, the home opener. The first time the Buckeyes get to take the field in a real game since the Michigan game. It'll be nice to get that taste out of their mouth for sure, as long as they take care of business against the Gwens, the Penguins coming to town. Until Saturday, we'll be covering the Buckeyes at LettermenRow.com. Come check us out in the Lettermen Lounge message board. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you there for all of the coverage. For now, we're going to get to work. That's Tim May, the 40-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you back in here on Wednesday night for more coverage of the Buckeyes.